Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you're having a happy summer. It's raining a lot here in Michigan, but in between the raindrops, it's 85 to 90 degrees. So it's hot and humid. All right, today, we want to talk about all things sewing, but I want to remind you about the Camp Shirt Conversion Challenge. It's in the newsletter. Uh, what we're what we're suggesting is you do a camp shirt conversion like we did a couple years ago. All the information is on the website. What we recommend is taking a already well-fitting shirt pattern, and maybe you're using our shirt patterns. These are both really good choices. The women's everybody's and or the everybody shirt and the women's shirt makers express. These are both really good ones to start with. This one has less pieces, it's a little simpler. And what we want you to do is follow the instructions we put on YouTube in our videos on how to convert this beautiful long sleeve button down shirt into a camp shirt, similar to what I'm wearing. Maybe it'll have a little pocket, maybe you change the hemline a little. You can do a collar stand, you can do all kinds of different things. But the idea of the challenges is to give us a purpose for trying something new. So many times you've got to go to your cousin's wedding. Oh, I've always wanted to make that pattern. I'm going to go get that pattern now and I'm going to make it. It's got this special twist at the waist that I've never done before and I have no idea how to do. So it's a great idea to do that when there isn't all that kind of pressure and to maybe hone in some new skills so that when you do have to adapt something, you're ready. You're like, oh, yeah, I remember how to do that now. So that's why we're doing the challenges. And that's what so many of you have told us. I've gotten many beautiful thank you notes saying, gee, thank you for bringing that up and challenging me because I've I've learned something and I feel more confident as a sewer now. And I can't wait for the next challenge. So, anyways, it's the Camp Shirt Conversion Challenge, and you can read about it in the latest newsletter. If you have any questions about it, just send us an email at islandersewing@comcast.net, and Brenda or I will get back to you. But the deadline for that challenge is August 31st. And anyone who enters by sending in a picture of their conversion camp shirt will get a $20 gift certificate to spend on the Islander Sewing Systems website. So I think that's all you need to know about the challenge. We just want to make sure you remember. Another thing that's pretty exciting around here, and it's taking up a lot of our spare time, is we're going to do a big outdoor garage sale. Now, many of you may know that Brenda and I used to run the Novi Expo Center Sewing Expo. It was called American Sewing Expo. For 20 years, we did that. And we had so many supplies and fixtures and items that we just sort of put in the garage or put in a loft. And we just have to get those things out. On top of that, we've got notions and all kinds of different fabrics, and we're finding new stuff all the time. We've got dress forms, we've got hand dyed fabrics, all kinds of cool stuff. So that's going to be right here at Islander Sewing Systems in Highland, Michigan. And we're going to do it the weekend of August 22nd through the 24th. Now, I will give you more information in the next newsletter. I think we're going to do 3 days, but we may only do two. I got to check with everybody who's going to be helping me. But Brenda will be here, Jessica will be here, and Michelle, who is our apprentice here, she'll be here. So that's what we'll be doing. All kinds of great stuff. Lots of remnants. I mean, I just can't even name everything that came in. It's just crazy. All right. So put that on your calendar if you live near us and you can stop by that day, one of those days. All right. So without any further ado, let's go on to talking about darts. Darts are something that I don't usually think about teaching in an average class because I didn't realize that some people are struggling with darts. And there are so many different ideas about darts or ways to accomplish them. And some people come at it from a different direction. And some people backstitch, and some people never backstitch, and some people tie, and other people don't. So I'm going to give you what I know to be the best techniques that work efficiently, clean, and no pins, no basting, no fuss. So first, I want to talk about marking darts. What we learned maybe a couple years ago is that some people were not familiar with the old school tracing wheel and carbon paper. And this would usually, you'd get like 4 or 5 sheets, probably navy, red, yellow, white, and they're carbon, and you apply them to the fabric using the tracing wheel. In today's world, there is not as readily available, and some of the products we've learned from some of you don't work as well. So we're going to have a link in the comments that will give you how to get to Susan Khalje's site. Susan Khalje is a couture teacher, and she sells a really nice quality of paper that can be used with the tracing wheel, and it comes in 4 colors, and her sheets are really big, so if you had to mark very long seams or something, it would be, I think they're, what are they, 26 by 39. So, and I'm going to tell you, you only have to buy them once, they'll last you forever, because just look at these. This is what was in my stash. There's a Talon and a Dritz. This one costs 90 cents. This one costs 75. Today's price is $32 plus shipping. So that's how old these are, but they've lasted, and every time I need one, I just go and I pull it out. So, but as I said, some of you have told us what's available maybe at your local chain store uh, just wasn't the same quality. So I'll just show you quickly how you use a tracing wheel. So this is our fashion fabric. This is the wrong side of our fabric. If we were going to mark 2 things at once, we could put this folded this way between the 2 layers. So if you were marking 2 darts at once, but we're only going to mark one here. So I only need 1 layer facing the fabric, and then my little dart pattern. Obviously, it'd be your bodice or something. And then you just take this little wheel, and if you can see, it has these little tiny points on it. Those little points cause dotted line to appear on the fabric where you need to stitch. So you want to be accurate and stay right on that line and give it some pressure. And there you have it. So this is the old school way of marking darts. And I will tell you that many of people in my age category were taught to trace all their seam allowances. So on the patterns back in the 60s and before, the seam allowance was marked on the pattern. And in each envelope, you only got one size. So the seam allowance would be marked on the pattern, and then they would trace their seam allowance. So they could sew perfectly accurate seams. And they would know where, if they needed to adjust, they could see that difference really easily by marking all those. Although for me, it's just a lot of tedious work. But anyway, we have our dart marked that way. Now, the way that I generally mark a dart, unless for some reason I needed to do this, is I would mark my dart by, where's my little scissors? Oh, I didn't bring scissors. I'll use the rotary cutter. So let's say that my dart pattern, let's say this is the pattern. So I would make a little nip in the edge of the fabric. Don't use a cutter, use the scissors. But I would make little nips right here so I could line them up. So that would be the and fold, and that's in effect the same thing as this dart, okay? Then to mark that center of the dart, you have a couple of options. One would be to put a pin or something right through that hole while it's still where you need it to be. And then using a chalk or any kind of erasable marker, you'll make a dot right where that pin was. Now we know we're going to sew from here to here. Now, if you need a stitching line and you don't have the carbon, you could do this. You could line this up and mark it with your chalkener. And now you have that line to sew on as well. Okay. Now in the garment factory, we don't draw lines. All the operator is going to get is the little clips on the end here. And believe it or not, there's a hole at the end of the dart. Now what's really important here is that if you're going to use this method, that your hole ends up inside of where the stitching is supposed to end. Instead of marking right at the tip where I did with the dot, now I'm going to mark just shy of the tip. And I'm going to use a sewing machine needle and I'm going to push it all the way through the fabric. Now you see I have a hole. Can you see that, Bren?
Really? I'm in as far.
Let me see. If I hold this up a little bit. Okay, the hole is right here. Okay, so when I take that to the sewing machine and I fold it and I grab those two little clips together and then I fold it on that dot, I know right where to sew. And if you make a lot of darts, you don't need to do anything more than this, and then you can just do your stitching. So that's the way it's done in production. But if you don't make 100 darts a day, I suggest that you do some of the marking that I showed you how to do. But I just thought it'd be kind of fun to show you how it's done. And in the garment factory, when they mark them, obviously they don't use a sewing machine needle. They have another apparatus. But if you've ever tried to move a dart on a ready to wear garment, chances are you found that little hole. That little hole will not ravel. It has not cut any of the fibers, but it's permanently pushed them aside to create that little bit of a hole just to mark it so that you can sew it. So that's the industry marking. All right, so now let's talk about stitching of darts. And I've had several, coincidentally, several people comment. One in person and a couple of emails about, would you please show us how to do a dart? I have trouble with darts. So I don't know what all the troubles are, but I do know some of the key pointers, and then we'll talk about what kind of troubles you might be having. So first of all, where are darts supposed to be? Well, we use darts in order to create uh, a rounded effect. And that dart position is very important for a flattering look. So that dart position, and I don't know if we can see here, but you'll measure from your apex, which is the center of the bust, and you want the end of your dart either a vertical or a horizontal dart to be 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch from that point on your bust. You may buy a pattern and you go to put the muslin on, and this dart is way over here on you, or it's way over here on you. You've got to move that dart so it's directly underneath your apex. Having it over here is going to misshapen the garment and make you look misshapen. So that's the first thing you want to do. If you're making a new pattern, you're going to want to do a muslin to make sure, because most people I've helped have had to move this dart. If you're bigger busted than the average person who wears that size, chances are you're gonna have to move it. If you're smaller, chances are you're gonna have to move it. And nobody's just exactly perfect. So that's what you want to know so that it gives you a nice, and here's one with the only the vertical dart. This is our um everybody's shirt with the vertical dart, and then this one is the everybody's tunic with that vertical dart. And I now, if you look at these darts, if I was going to make for this person, I'd move these darts in about a half inch. They're a little bit too far over for her. But she's just a mannequin, so we don't care. But for yourself, you want to make sure they're pointed at the right place. And then the garment will hang properly. Now, how to stitch the dart. This is where I think some of you are having trouble. When you stitch a dart, you want to stitch the dart, and we're going to say that this is a, let's say that this dot right here is um, the end of the dart. And I am on the fold right here. I have a bet. This one is a little deceiving, so let's go to this one. As you can see, I am hitting the fold a stitch and a half to 2 stitches, not just a half a stitch, not just one stitch. You want this to be a very gradual, smooth transition at the end. So it lays perfectly flat on your bust. Because if you don't, you will get a bump. So this is and you'll see in the newsletter, this was titled, Don't Make a Quick Left Turn, because that's what Margaret would always tell everyone. If you're headed here and you see that you're not going to make it, the only alternative here is take it out and go back and approach it again, because you do not want to make this quick left turn. And I'm going to show you exactly why you don't want to make a quick left turn. All right. Here is a dart that's transitioning beautifully on the side. Let me see. How's that look? So this would maybe this is a skirt, and this is where the widest part of the hip is down here. So it'll lay smooth across that hip. Here's one that was not that made the quick left turn. All right, and this is what happens when you make the quick left turn. You're going to have this dimple at the end. And that is not what you want on your bust or your hips, to have this little dimple. So if you're getting those little dimples or tucks that won't lay smooth and just pop out like that, you're not getting a smooth, clean transition. So do not stitch your dart. Let's see. Can you see this one? Do not stitch your dart like this. You see it sort of curves? No. So, and all it takes is a few little 6 or 8 inch squares of fabric to practice and make a few darts until you start to really get it, and you just end up on the end of that smooth fold. Now, if you're using a 3 stitch, maybe you're only going to get a stitch and a half on that fold. If you're using a 2, you're probably going to get 2 or 3 stitches right there at the end that line right across onto that fold, and then you'll have that perfect smooth dart. So the most important thing is getting them positioned properly on the garment before you stitch them, marking them the best way that works for you, and then stitching accurately so that you get right to that point without any variation and right straight off. Now, the final thing, and I put it in the newsletter, is to not, so many people will say to tie these threads at the end of the dart. What we do is we just keep stitching. And this is way too small for you to see right now, but it's all stitched together. And then there's the little tail at the end here. Can they see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is how you'll see in all your ready to wear a little tail of stitched threads and a cut, and then cut it off. It will not come out. It will not unravel. In my 60 plus years of sewing, I've never had a dart come out. And I bet you've never had a ready to wear dart come out, and that's the way they're done. So no need in spending that fussy time to make a long tail and tie a knot at the end. Do not start at the end of the dart. That's not a good place to start. And it's not a good idea to back up either. Even if you were to turn around so that you made sure you stayed on top of the same stitching, it's just going to be too bulky for most garments. And this is the fine tip of a dart. So the last thing you want to do is add some bulk to that, because again, we want that very smooth transition. So, take a little square. This is, we always use Kona cotton in our samples, but anything that you've got in a firm woven. And do a couple samples and try what I said. Just, I know you think I'm crazy because a lot of people do. You just keep on stitching. The fabric's off and you're still stitching. And you don't normally do that. And you're thinking, oh, the machine will jam up. Nope, you'll be just fine. So give that a try. And I think that's all I have on darts, but I'm open to questions about darts.
Yeah, I got the wrong. I have to correct the link to.
Oh, Susan Khalje.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so
I'll put it in.
Brenda is feeling bad because she got the link wrong for the tracing paper, but she's going to get it corrected. Don't worry, we'll get it done by the end of the show anyway. Um, as you all know, this Brenda very kindly is pinch hitting as my camera person. And I think she said at least 4 times before we started, I hate this. I hate this. I'm so nervous. So please bear with us and know that we're doing our best.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
So you don't need to correct the link right now, do you? You
Hmm.
could just give me some questions if there are any.
Don't
No,
seem
no
to be any
questions.
here.
Okay. All right.
Oh, shoot, I can't get back.
Mhm.
I've
Okay.
seen, okay, somebody says, I've seen articles where they suggest ironing the darts up instead of down.
That seems
I'm
foolish.
gonna repeat it. I don't know if they
Yeah. Brenda said, who is it that said that?
who said that? Ruth Simpson.
Ruth Simpson. Hi, Ruth. We've been talking to Ruth today because her package hasn't reached her yet, but it's on its way. Anyway, no, I don't know who would say that, but that just sounds so absurd to me. Because here's my dart, and I'm gonna have that fabric up here. If it's down here, that's kind of like almost under your arm. You don't see it, it's just sort of blends in. I think if you fold it up, it's gonna be an eyesore up here. So no, I can't imagine doing that. Usually in a pattern, they're going to tell you which way to press the darts, but it's usually toward the side seams or down.
It usually catches in the seam when you
Right,
scrapped it
right,
that
yeah.
way.
When you push it, when you press it down, that's another thing, Ruth. As big busted as I am, my dart would not fit into my armhole. If I tried to press it up, it'd be up here in my armhole.
It says there is somebody that says for large busted women, press them up.
That is absolutely absurd. There are a lot of things you can do. And if you're a large busted woman, why would you want all that fabric up into your armhole and up here? I No. There are a lot of people on this planet right now, and it's probably in any persuasion possible because we all can be experts. All we have to do is get hooked up to the internet and get a camera, and we tell people how things should be done. But that doesn't make us an expert. And I have heard some really foolish things in the last 5 or 6 years on people that are trying to make a name for themselves or think that they've invented something that's very cool or they have a good idea. And what they don't know is they have lack of experience, so they don't know how that's going to impact going forward more garments than just maybe one basic one they thought it looked good. I just can't imagine. I'm still trying to think about taking this dark fabric and folding it up here and having that up there. I don't know why I'd want to do that. Doesn't make any sense at all.
Someone else said that they stopped suggesting that, the company that was doing it.
Oh, well, that was clever of them. Hey, if you make a mistake, it's usually better to pull back and say, I thought it was a good idea, but maybe not so much.
No other questions.
No other questions? Okay. Well, oh, on the camp shirt, again, that camp shirt conversion, even if you're just sort of maybe thinking about it, you will, anyone who gets us the pictures of their camp shirt conversion by the 31st of August, you remember it has to be a conversion, not just sew up that pattern the same way it came out of the envelope. It has to have some conversion to it. We will present you with a $20 gift certificate to spend on the website. So there's a little extra incentive for you. I will just go into my little spiel about making samples because it's something that was never suggested to me and I never did as a beginning sewer. And once I started doing it as an experienced sewer, I thought, oh my gosh, I should have been doing this all along because you sit down to put your first zipper in. Should you really be putting it in a garment? Maybe you should put a couple of zippers in some scraps of fabric and get the feel of it. And the same thing with so many techniques you're trying. Don't try it for the first time on the garment. Make samples. So, like for instance, in my book, Islander Sewing Systems, where we teach you all of the darts and lots of other things, flat felled seams. Is that, oh, I'll just hold it.
Yep.
Up. Here's a flat felled seam, no pins, no basting, 2 steps, not even any pressing involved. But we give you the pattern pieces in the back of the book so that you can follow along with either the video or the book and make the samples. So rather than try to put a zipper in the first time in a garment, why not put it in a little mini sample? Same thing with the waistband. If you're going to learn to burrito, learn to do it on a sample that nobody cares about. And if you have to throw it away and start over, you don't care either. But when it's this beautiful fabric and we're all excited about how we're going to wear it and where we're going to wear it and we're stitching it and things go wrong, that's when people say, I don't have enough patience to sew. I say, no, you just didn't make a sample ahead of time. So consider that. And let me think. Oh, and these are I already went over, these were the 2 good patterns for the conversion. Okay, I think that's about it. But oh, also look at here. Learn to put this pocket on. And this is no pins, no basting as well. And all of that is either can be found in Margaret's video. The video is done by Margaret, and the book is the same information but done by me. And we also sell them as a bundle. So if you like both concepts, reading it as well as watching it, that's a great way to go. But you can check those out on our website at islandersewing.com. Well, I think that's all for today, right, Brenda?
Code.
The code. Oh, yes, I told everybody they were going to get a 20% off discount. And that is for any video class on our website. And the code is video 20, the 20. So it's video 20, and it ends on the 13th of this month. So to get 20% off any of our downloadable classes, that means you have that class at your disposal anytime you like. And there's 2 options. You could either have it housed on the website and you just go to the website to look at it, or you can actually download it into an app and then you can have it on any device. If you have any questions about that, it's kind of a new concept for us and it's really just a great program. So we're very excited about it. But if you have any questions, please just send us a quick email and Brenda or I will get back to you.
Okay.
So that's your discount, and that's for everybody who came to watch today. So that's video 20, and you will get any video class that you would like to purchase. You'll see that at the top of the menu bar on our website. I think it's just video classes, right, Brenda?
I
Yeah.
think so.
So just click on that and you'll see all we have to offer. We've got some fitting classes on there by Connie Crawford. We've got classes by Margaret Islander. Um, just a lot of really great stuff. So, again, if you have any questions, just let us know. And I guess that's all from Islander Sewing Systems.
Reiterate the garage, yeah.
The garage sale, I told them about it, right?
You're gonna do it again.
Oh, that's right. I'm supposed to remind you about the garage sale again. Okay, in case you missed it the first time, August 22nd through the 24th at Islander Sewing Systems out in the country or in Highland, Michigan, which is between Flint and Ann Arbor. 23 and M59 are kind of the major crossroads. We did this maybe 5 or 6 years ago with a few things that we had, and I've been meaning to do it every year ever since, and the stuff just keeps piling up, and I just have to do it. I just have to do it. So it was really hard to even set a date because it's a huge work commitment for everybody. But we're going to do it. So, and we would love to see you. We would love to meet some of you that we haven't met. So if you're from the area, please stop by. I think it'll be like your basic 9 to 4 kind of sale. And we'll put more about it in the upcoming newsletters. All right, I think that's all for today. So, from Islander Sewing Systems, where we teach you how to sew without pins or basting and come up with a much better looking garment. And we teach you how to get things fit so they hang well and they're comfortable. We're going to say goodbye for today and say happy sewing to everyone. And we hope to see you again real soon. Bye, everyone.